What is going on? This is TJRS, the John Ross Show. Our last show, well, actually, it's the first show that I've had since I took a break from streaming due to being on holiday, or not holiday, but studying for finals from school is what I meant. But it's also the last show for the year, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host and comrade, colleague, however you want to call him, the I would say Scrooge, Grinch, because you don't look like you're a holiday person. I can
Bah
totally,
humbug.
yeah.
Um,
R.C. Roberts, who writes for Farokia Enemy, he is also I would say, contributor to Movie Night Extravaganza.
contributors a little much. I am a traveling podcast guest.
There you go. That's better.
Yes.
With our friend Forrest Miller. Shout out to Forrest. Go check out Movie Night Extravaganza with Forrest Miller. Like and subscribe to his show. Also, you are also the guest of a new show with Kenzo Shibata, which we're going to talk about. I actually saw it not too long ago. It is Sabbath Cipher, as I recall, and we're going to talk about that a little more in just a few. First of all, Charlie, how you doing? I mean, aside from being screwed.
Well, I was gonna say, C. Derek Varn said that I'm the Grouch of the left or something to that extent, which I wear proudly. I celebrate Festivus, both ironically and unironically. It's hard to celebrate a holiday that's based on a TV show, but I enjoy Seinfeld, and it's a pretty good replacement for Christmas.
Hey,
So
who doesn't enjoy Seinfeld? I gotta say,
people we don't talk to.
Yeah, that is true. I have to say, since it's been on Netflix, I haven't really watched a few episodes. I haven't really watched a lot of Netflix. To be honest with you, I've been in school. I finished my finals. I passed.
There you go.
And I don't really believe in God, but I'm just going to use it this once. And I'm excited to be doing this again because I've missed it. I've missed my show. I've missed Charlie. I've missed seeing all of you. And thanks for the one viewer. Also, before we get started, I need to shout out, like and subscribe on Facebook, Twitter, and that other platform that everyone watches, YouTube. Hit the like button on YouTube. Like on Twitch. The whole deal. Yeah, we're just gonna get started. So, Joan Didion, unfortunately, has passed away at the age of 87.
87. Yep.
And go right ahead.
Oh, okay. I actually asked John to mention Didion here because she's a writer I enjoy. I came across her indirectly at first through quotes and through she has a big presence in American literature, at least contemporary American literature. And I started reading her book Political Fictions, which was a collection of essays, which was her account of everything from Bill Clinton winning the presidency to his scandal with with his scandal with Monica Lewinsky. And so for me, I think she's a national treasure. I think she is probably one of the better writers we've ever had here in our contemporary era. And but she died today. She was 87 years old. One of the most favorite things that is at least is attributed to her. I don't know if it's something she said. might have been, but it's a quote attributed to her, and I assume that is probably what she said. But she said that when she writes to find out what she thinks, and I appreciate her let's say her honesty about that, because a lot of times people think that being a writer is, you come up with the idea first and you write it down, and it's not so much like that, because Gore Vidal also said that when he wrote to figure out what he thought. um and so it's for me, it's appreciated because I feel that a lot. Sometimes when I get asked a question, even on podcasts, sometimes I feel like I just want to be like, listen, if you let me write it down, I'll have a better answer for you. And
Mhm.
so but yeah, she's a national treasure, and she is a part she is a part of a type of writing, I should say, a genre of writing which is slowly but surely kind of dying out here, called sage writing. Um, it started off in the Victorian era.
Right.
Um, don't want to get too historical here, but it started off
It's
in the Victorian
historical
era,
if you want.
and it was a group of secular writers who kind of would give their opinions about society on complicated issues, but they do it in an uncomplicated manner. That
Right.
it's not the same as being like a critical theorist, for example. They would approach things from a almost from the level for what I would call eye level, and it's actually a history, a writing, a history for writers, sorry, a history for a genre of writing that
Mhm.
I believe that I am carrying out here in my writings. But I do want to be careful with that word sage. I'm
Right.
not trying to be weird and mystical. I'm not a sage, but um, sage writing is something that I attempt to engage in when I'm writing about different topics, instead of necessarily being a theorist or a pundit or anything like that.
Is so that's your that's your take on Joan Didion. That's
Yeah, she's a national treasure. Everybody should read what she has to write, or I'm sorry, what she has written.
Mhm.
And we have lost a great writer today.
Mhm.
Um, and whenever you lose a great writer, I think the world should know, and the world seems pretty informed about it. But hopefully, this will bring people to read her work, which
Right.
I think is important for uh, American literature.
So if you could, other than what you've pointed out about Didion, the work, the collection of essays, is there like a sort of like definitive book or article or essay of hers that you can point out to people that
There
are
are
on the left
there
that are like, hey,
right.
this is something that we can
Well, there are so many different books and articles and stuff, and um like there's a lot of her work is nonfiction and
Mhm.
collections of articles. um there are I'm trying to think what her I think her most well-known book is, um she wrote um Blue Nights. um she wrote Where I Was From. That's one of the ones, and fictions is another one that people tend to gravitate towards.
Right.
There was an essay of hers that I was reading today, and I can't remember what it is, and that's the one I'm looking for right now.
Mhm.
Um, and One moment here.
The
Um,
essays are so hard to find. They're just like
well,
woven
it's
within the interweb.
well, it wasn't necessarily hard to find. Oh, it's her essay on self respect, which she wrote in 1961,
Mhm.
and it's a very interesting one. Um, and I'd only started reading it um here after hearing the news of her passing. I just wanted to kind of go through her stuff because I've only started reading Joanne Didion. I only came across her recently. Her and Mary Gaskill
Mhm.
are two really good writers that I've come across here recently. And um so I would say where I was from, political fictions. She has a lot of books, fiction and nonfiction. Um and Blue Knights. Those are the main three that I know of anyway.
Mhm.
That have always stood out to me and seem to come up a lot. But um her relationship to the left, I'm not sure what that relationship, how best to describe that relationship.
Right.
Um and this actually is interesting because I had this conversation with in a different format with Kenzo and Forrest and Napoleon the Legend
Mm.
when I was on Sabbath Cypher last weekend. The left has a very interesting relationship to, let's just say, sages for now. Unfortunately, it's a loaded term, but
Yeah,
bear
absolutely.
with me. The left has a odd relationship with sages because when I was talking to Kenzo and Forrest and Napoleon about Jordan Peterson, we were making fun of him because it's easy to do, and it's always fun,
Yeah.
cry
I mean, when
crying.
is it ever fun to make fun about Jordan Peterson?
I
Especially now that
he
he's added those 24 new rules to the 12 that he
God,
proposed.
yeah, he should stop making rules.
Yeah,
Um,
there's just so many rules that Peterson has done that it just makes your head explode.
well,
Bigotry.
it's not even that. It's just, it's the ham-fisted appropriation of actual scientific phenomenon,
Mm.
um, and taking that and mixing it in with his nonsensical Jungian psychoanalysis.
In your room.
um, you know, and when he talks, it's like there's no brain activity behind his words. He's just talking and crying some more.
Pouting and pouting and
Yeah,
just
just he's a sad Kermit the Frog, and for me,
yeah, definitely. He definitely has that Kermit the Frog voice that you could just never get out of
yeah,
your head.
and
It's just so
and for me, I just we but what was interesting was when I was talking about it on Sabbath Cipher, we were having a conversation about what Jordan Peterson was attempting, the role he's attempting to fill. And it was brought up that there's people on the left who are kind of like that,
mhm.
who um the one that Napoleon brought up was Marion Williamson.
Really.
He wasn't bringing it up as though she's actually sage like, but he pointed out that she's trying to fill the same role.
Mhm.
And so Joanne Didion's relationship to the left, I think, is maybe one that's almost it kind of almost depends on the reader, really. If you're really into critical theory and you're really into just kind of a straight laced Marxism or Marxist Leninism, and you have no time for people who look at the world and maybe ask questions you don't want to hear, then you're not going to like Joanne Didion. You're going
Mhm.
to find her s- um, just you're not going to appreciate her perspective. But her role was not to be an ideologue.
Mm.
Um, and it's actually something I appreciate because a lot of people are ideologues nowadays.
Right.
A lot of people will believe in something and it's
And will
appreciated.
latch onto it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's some people appreciate that they're you know they've got conviction for their ideas and stuff. and sometimes
Yeah,
it's fine, but frankly, it's for me, it's kind of annoying, because there's no ability to be flexible on anything, and there's
right.
no way to question anything, and um, to have, I had a mutual friend of ours actually tell me that people who don't have ideologies are cowards. And
Mm,
I reminded her that idiots also have ideologies. So if I have
that's
to pick between idiocy and cowardice, I'll pick cowardice.
right.
And so I find that, someone like Didion, maybe her relationship to the left is kind of a
It
way
it
of
sounds it sounds like it's kind of mixed in a way. Because that's the other thing I wanted to ask you is what her obviously, she sounds like she was on the left, um, but what part of the left that did she identify with? And,
um yeah. Well, from her from her essays and stuff, it doesn't seem like she was incredibly political. She was
mm,
a part of sort of what we call new journalism,
mhm.
the movement that came out of the 50s and the 60s and the
Tom Wolfe.
70s. Yeah, yeah, with Tom Wolfe, and I would believe that that would make her on the left. Um, and so but the problem is she's not explicitly. Hmm.
Leftist.
Well,
Right.
yeah, here, actually, a better way to put that is she's not explicitly political. For example, when she's looking at Bill Clinton's election,
Mhm,
and stuff like that, her goal isn't to sit there and say, "Well, Bill Clinton's a part of a movement by Democrats away from the working class and towards sort of a professional managerial class." That's not her view. She's looking at it in the sense of, well, the media had a lot of control in
mhm,
how narratives are built and how narratives come together and how narratives inform us.
mhm.
And she used, kind of, for example, the scandal with Monica Lewinsky
Yep.
as a focus point for this. And so I would say that she's important to the left, maybe because she isn't so staunchly political.
Mhm.
Um, you know, because
It
I think that's important.
Right.
That's kind of what a sage is supposed to do in the broadest sense, is to take people's perspectives and widen them.
Right. Well, it kinda brings me to this next question, like, even though that she wasn't so political, I would probably would describe her, to be fair, as semi-apolitical at best. Um, what would be her relationship to, say, socialism? Not like democratic socialism, but also, what were her feelings on, say, Bernie Sanders or, uh, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? What would her feelings or beliefs be, uh, on the new crop of, Democrats or democratic socialists that have, risen up, I guess you could say, in the last, about 3 or 4 years?
Well, I'm
Well,
going
I'm
to
going to
do
do
something that a
that
lot
is
of
a
people don't
that is a
do,
loaded
at
question,
least
and
in my position. And I'm going to admit that I haven't read enough. I haven't read enough of what she's said, and I basically 3 weeks ago I didn't even know she existed, and then I ran into her work and some other things, and so I wish I could give you that answer, but I'm not entirely sure. Um, from because, like, for example, I haven't even finished political fictions all the way yet, and but I find that um, the best way I could answer your question, because I don't know what her opinions were of the Democratic Socialists. I don't know what her opinions were of Bernie Sanders, or anything like that. Um, I would say that people on the left should not be wary of her.
Mhm.
And they should probably read her and appreciate her perspective.
Right.
Um, because for example, her relationship to the left is as far as I can tell from what I've read, is similar to mine,
Mhm.
where I'm not there to be an ideologue and help people, you know, uh, have more conviction in their beliefs.
Mhm.
I'm there to try to get people to think about things better.
Right.
And so I kind of think that's what her role is. Um so far because her like for example her perspective on the media is quite interesting.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the best answer I can give you at the moment is her relationship to socialism would probably be one that provides a new perspective on what socialism is and what it could mean.
Right. Well, it's a fair enough answer. I'm sure somewhere down the road as we could look into this more and more, and we could come up with as we read more and discover more, it's like, "Hey, we found
Right.
this about what she truly feels about, AOC and the
Hmm.
Democratic Socialist Movement," or like the DSA, for example.
Right.
Uh, as a supporter of the DSA myself, I would, hope that she would have some sympathy towards it, but who knows?
Right.
Uh,
I just don't want to mislead your viewers and pretend I have the answers because a
no,
lot of times you see
not
that
at
with
all,
people. And
not at all.
so, but my advice to everybody who's watching is go read her. Go read her work. If the best you can do is just read her essays one at a time, go ahead and do that. From what little I've read so far, she's a brilliant writer.
Mhm,
And it's a it's quite the loss for the American literary scene.
and she will be missed, very much so. That's what I love about a lot of literatures. I don't mean this to sound hokey or anything of that nature, but, you get introduced to these new literature people and they somehow influence you in a lot of ways, in a positive way.
Hmm.
And I don't want that to sound off the wall or off the cuff, but, it's been a while for me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. For me, literature is kind of where the for me it's where language games and imaginations meet. It's it's our attempt to grasp the world in a way that's maybe not completely physical, but and it's always appreciated. It's
Yeah,
always it's a perspective, and I think all literature should be an attempt to use culture to try to widen the perspective we have on things,
right.
um, in our lives because you know a lot of people don't have very good perspectives on things.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
Uh, a lot of people are either very narrow minded
Yeah,
or they are so open minded that people are just coming around putting stuff in their brains, and so there's a moderation between the two.
yeah.
But
And I guess now probably wouldn't be the time to name names even though we would want to, but we know who those people are, right? We know whom they are and what they do and
well, I'm
where they
I'm sure I'm sure everybody knows who they are.
yeah,
Um, um, who have the narrow perspectives or the super open-minded perspectives.
yeah,
Um, but as I was telling Kenzo about kind of the role that Joanne Didion and other sage writers would play, we should always be careful with people who are in that role.
right.
Because I mean, look at the control Jordan Peterson's had, and look at the damage he's done.
Mhm.
You have to be careful,
Yeah,
and so but that's probably a whole other thing, the relationship of the left to wisdom and sages, which is actually something I'm writing about right now. It's taking me a little bit,
yeah,
but it's a topic that I'm going to flesh out here. The essay's tentative title is Life Without Wisdom, and
Is
when
this
it's
another part of your, sorry to interrupt you, but is it another part of your notes in the margins, or is this totally
no, this would be a Monday column.
gotcha?
My next note in the margin, I've missed a few weeks on my notes in the margin, but that's honestly just because I've been very busy.
Oh,
So, um, but
and
yeah, basically Monday columns are deeper issues.
mhm,
Notes in the margins are more of my observations of things going on, and then mere opinions is reviews.
yeah.
So
So, before I interrupted you there again, I apologize, but,
you're good.
if you could say what the article that you are writing about, what its presumptive, narrative or synopsis is.
The thesis.
Yes.
Well, the thesis for the moment is that we have to be careful with wisdom because the way I see wisdom is it's 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 basically grave robbery for ideas. It's going to the past, digging things up, and saying, "Well, we can, use this." And as anybody knows, if you dig up a body, usually whatever diseases are with that body come with it. And so when you take wisdom from the past, a lot of people love stoicism, for example,
Mhm.
or many of the Greek sages, they just take from them and they don't understand that those ideas have to be examined, you know,
Right. Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
right. And it's not to say that they're necessarily bad, but one of the biggest problems in society I find is that people um are victims to ideas that they won't let go of.
Mhm.
And oftentimes we will create an idea or we'll create an idea, have an idea, or borrow an idea that
Yeah.
is helpful in a particular situation. But then we carry it on forever. We carry it beyond its use.
Right.
And then it becomes a problem. It's kind of the way I see toxicity, like, toxic masculinity and things like that.
Uh,
I don't see anything as inherently toxic, but
right.
sometimes you have strategies in life that are useful at one point, and then they become not useful and therefore toxic later on.
Mhm.
And so the thesis of the essay is that wisdom is kind of grave grave robbing ideas that have long since been dead, taking them on loan, and then taking them beyond the situations where they're useful.
Right.
Slavoj Žižek actually had an interesting thing to say about wisdom. He doesn't like wisdom. And he said it's because basically, and he's right, by the way, you have a wisdom for every situation, for every, if you decide to be reckless, there's a wisdom that supports it. If you decide to be timid, you have a wisdom to support it. It's on the opposite sides of everything.
Right. I would say for a perspective for myself, I would be in a timid wisdom because I am very timid. I'll be honest with you. Uh,
Well, right.
I have
Well,
a
well,
uh,
I was gonna say my whole thing is to question the notion of wisdom at all, and to kind of get to what it is, because I don't want to deny that wisdom is real.
right,
There are wise people, but I want to question whether that's always a good thing.
right.
Maybe the point of life isn't to go find wisdom or be wise. Maybe the point is to be clever. Who
Mm.
knows? But
Or
that's what
just
the
live
essay is
what you believe in. Yeah.
about. But that's what the essay is about.
And you're currently writing this,
Yeah,
your
it's
works?
yeah, it takes this is the kind of essay that takes a little bit, um,
Uh, yeah.
because uh,
You just wanna make sure that it comes out the way you wanna say
well,
it.
yeah, and it's also dealing with a larger topic. The thing about notes in the margins, and actually what makes them so fun is that it's easy to write.
Right.
It's easy to find
You can
some things,
just
have
get
some
it out.
observation.
You
Mhm.
can just get it out. and quick. The
Right.
Monday columns are more like, as you say, they need to be fleshed out a little more. You need to be
Yeah.
more specific about what you're trying to say. You need to be
Right.
elaborate. You need to elaborate on every point, and it's just like you don't wanna put out something that's like some people, like, say, "What's this? What does this mean?
Oh, yeah,
How"
well, you don't wanna put out hack pieces.
Yeah.
That's what I try to avoid. And the difference between, say, a Monday article and a Mere Opinions article, which is a
Mm,
review is a little easier because you have something that you are referencing. In
mhm.
this case, my next um, Mere Opinions is going to be Ben Burch's book right here
Ah,
about Christopher Hitchens.
uh-huh.
Um,
Which,
it's a nice book. I want to give a shout out to J. Andrew World, Andy,
yep,
because that's his artwork right there.
yep, yep.
It's
So,
really good.
Andy, if you watch this, if you hear this, shout out to you, brother.
Yeah,
It's
and
yeah,
so it's
good
good, and
work.
I look forward to it. I like listening to Ben Burgess talk about things.
As do I.
Um,
So I have to admit, because I've been in school and I've been doing my own thing, I haven't honestly listened a whole lot. It's not that I've lost interest, I have
well,
a lot on
yeah.
my plate now and I can't listen to everything.
Oh,
But,
yeah, and
with
and no one should feel compelled to listen to everything, but,
right.
um, and I hope he'll appreciate my review because my reviews tend to be candid. I actually
Yeah.
did a review for a book for a friend of mine, JD Smurl, and that
Mm,
book's about to be published. I don't have a date for it just yet, but it
mhm.
will be published. And in fact, part of my review is quoted and is going to be on the dust jacket.
Mm,
And so that's pretty interesting. It's called The Crisis of Individuality.
mm.
It's a very
Sounds
interesting book.
sounds
It's
it
yeah.
sounds interesting. Um, yeah, like I was saying before about Ben, I still I do respect Ben. It's just, again, I've been busy as hell with school and whatnot. I just haven't had time to, uh, watch the show visually, although I do try to find time to listen to the podcast while I'm, out doing errands or riding on the city bus or taking a walk, that kind of thing. And we will be reviewing, Ben's book, and getting Charlie's take at the end of the show. Uh, let us move on. By the way, I can kinda hear it's not a big deal. I can kinda hear a little bit of a faint echo on your side, but it's no big deal. Uh, let's move on to a show that you actually kinda mentioned during the Didion discussion, Sabbath Cipher, which you are a guest. Are you a frequent guest? Are you occasional guest?
I have been on
Well,
there once,
okay.
but I was asked to come on again,
Okay.
and so we will see when that is.
That'd be great. I think actually it's one of the things that I've been trying to listen to, kinda getting trying to be open-minded about new, like, leftist leaning podcasts of people that I know, and we should also say, Sabbath Cipher is Kenzo Shibata's, podcast. I know Forrest Miller was you say Forrest Miller was on the show,
Yeah. Yeah, he's helping produce it, and the episode I was on, they had on Napoleon the Legend.
okay.
Great guy.
Yeah.
And he
Awesome.
had some very interesting takes, and we it's a great show. It's like a combination of political commentary and free association where
Right.
we I we we look at different issues,
Mhm.
and it's free, very free flow.
Yeah.
We allow for people to have genuine reaction to things, and very interesting.
Do I guess the next thing I would ask, I hope you can do this. So it's you as a guest, Kendo Shibata, who started the show, Forrest Miller, who's producing, and C. Derek Barn. Um, could you, if you can, if you need me to do it, could we maybe is there a show example of this that we can listen to or, watch?
Um,
We could pull something up?
well, a few things. First off, the show's 2 regulars are Kenzo and Forrest.
Okay.
I don't know if C. Derek Varn has ever been on there. I
Mm,
don't think so, but I also wouldn't know.
mm,
The last time I was on there, it seems that they have 2 or more guests,
mhm,
excuse me, and the last time I was on there was me and Napoleon the Legend,
mhm,
and so, that's kinda how it seems to work, as far as I can
mm,
tell,
okay.
is, you'll have Kenzo and Force, they're the regulars, they run the show, they do a great job, by the way, and, um yeah, so, as far as for, a link or a part we could watch,
Is it
I
easier said
believe
than done?
I believe they have a YouTube channel. I think it's called
Okay.
Class Time.
Do you want yeah, I actually, do you wanna do this or should maybe I should do it?
I think you should do it. It's your
Okay.
show.
Yeah, I should definitely do it. You are the co-host, so you have as much freedom and respect. Uh, let's see, share screen. Uh, I was looking at some stuff on Diddy and, just FYI.
Right, right.
Let's see, YouTube, and, we also, after a while, we will be talking about, your notes in the margins. Your recent one that I actually found real interesting, which is, about Susan Sarandon and,
Yeah,
her I guess you could say the way she supported Bernie Sanders in 2016, and,
mhm.
that's kind of come back to haunt her, and not in a very good way. Uh, yeah, I'm looking at my notes, so if I'm looking away.
Oh, you're good.
So 7th, uh, or I probably should, yeah, put class
Alright,
time.
actually, if you scroll down a little bit here, where you're at, just scroll down
Uh-huh.
right there.
That one?
You see where it says yeah, that's one of their episodes, and as
Okay.
you can see so my mistake, it should be under the Kenzo's Sabata show.
Shibata Show.
Yeah,
Let's do this. This actually was the show that I modded
yeah,
for with Jamie and
yeah,
Romy. So you have been on the show as a guest? 'Cause
yes.
I wanna
No,
play
I don't know if it's on YouTube or not. I
I think
haven't
there's
gone
one
back and
episode,
checked. Yeah.
but,
Well,
let's
yeah,
do an example. Okay, let's see here. Let's minimize this. I probably should have, closed the screen. Um, I wonder if I'm gonna get copyright strike if I show this. Do you know at all?
no,
No.
I don't know, but, I will say this, if you're looking for an example of it, um, mm,
Before I
I
show
mean,
it, yeah.
you can probably just show 5 minutes, like,
Okay,
from the beginning, and, you know, I would just, just show enough to show what the show is like.
okay. Yeah, because this is new, and I know that you mentioned it to me in our private conversation, and so I was like, "Oh, I gotta see this." So, okay.
I've been phasing that out for a long time.
Want. I feel word. How is everyone doing? This is going to be a great show. A weird show and a great show. Uh, viewers, so this is not Meet the Left. This is the new show, The Sabbath Cipher. The name comes from two things. First of all, Black Sabbath, which is we're probably all here for some reason because of that band. And the Cipher is the Five Percenters, an offshoot of the Nation of Islam. It's a means of education that they use where people would stand in a circle and just, shoot off knowledge and wisdom. And everyone would kind of build off and ask questions about it. And the idea is that, we all live our lives and learn things. and some of it through books, but a lot of it through street lessons and lessons elsewhere, and we can learn a lot from each other. And I want to have a place where people can just feel where they can take the conversation wherever they want. I feel like we get a lot of really good ideas from there, and if we don't kind of put ourselves in these boxes about what's considered okay as far as discourse goes, we can maybe actually come up with new and better ideas than what the Twitter leftists want us to talk about. So got a great panel tonight. Of course, we have producer Forrest Miller, always Flacco of Movie Night Extravaganza, and
first time producing someone else's show since I stopped working for GTAA.
So yeah, I'm glad to have you on board with this. Of course, Dan Simpson is the producer of Meet the Left, but he streams at this time, and Forrest is super producer for the Left, and also now for whatever we want to call this. And then I also want to introduce Rob, aka White Trash Rob, who I want to make a note that your nickname is not within the terms of service of Twitch. I tried plugging in White Trash Rob in the
no,
title.
dude. I've been phasing that out for a long time, both for
Okay.
practical reasons and for ethical considerations. I don't want to send no mix. This is a different time than when I started, and I don't want to send any mixed signals that I'm trying to court or bait an audience or a clientele that I am venomously opposed to. So I've been my podcast is titled historically I was calling it White Trash Rob's Nodcast. I've just been calling it the Nodcast. And I always joked around, I'm Rob from Nod, Rob from the land of Nod. Similar to the Sabbath cipher, playing on two things: Sabbath, of course, Black Sabbath, and of course Saturday being the Sabbath. I was playing off of the land of Nod from the Bible, where after Cain killed his brother, he was forced to wear the mark and wander and all that crap, but also Nod from . So it's like a double entendre, but I'm just Rob. That's all.
All right. So yeah, we got Rob here, and I want to talk about recovery, just like what you were talking about as far as the second meaning of Nod. So yeah, I'm excited, and we got some clips from your music that we're going to share, so you can talk about how these projects are shaped by your experiences and how they're helping you in your recovery.
Awesome. I'm psyched.
And then of course we got Doug Lane here from, I don't know the name of your new stuff, but I am on your new Patreon now. I want you to plug all that.
All right.
Formerly of Zero Books, great guy who has on his shows a very diverse host of people. And of course he, like myself, got canceled for liking a certain black comedian. But also afterwards he had on a trans activist who disagreed with him, talked it out. He has lots of people on to figure out where people come from. And I don't want to get too into the Dave Chappelle discourse, but my defense of him in his latest special was the fact that I want to learn how these people come to their conclusions. Like people that would say things like they're on Team Turf. Like I don't want to just cancel them. I want to understand where they're coming from. So Doug, can you tell us about yourself and the projects you're working on now, and please plug everything.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with the most egocentric description of myself. I'm a novelist. There's my novel Bash Bash Revolution behind me. I have written a number of novels. I used to be the freelance publishing manager of Zero Books. That company was sold to another company. The people at Repeater own it now. So Watkins Media bought John Hunt Publishing, and I left or got the boot. I'm not sure exactly. And now I am back to being a podcaster and a YouTuber on my own. The YouTube channel that I ran for Zero Books was disputed. In the end, we settled, and I've turned it over to the people who bought Zero. And now I'm at Doug Lane on YouTube. I used to run a podcast called Diet Soap. I made it into the Zero Squared podcast when I was at Zero Books. It's back to being called Diet Soap. And the URL for that never changed. It's been dietsoap.podomatic.com for 12 years. So you can go find the podcast there. The Patreon is patreon.com/Diet Soap. It's actually, I'm sorry, HTTPS Cole.
All right, I think that's about enough. Yeah, we went over our 5 minutes, but yeah, it seems pretty good. I have to give a shout out to Kenzo. I hope this goes well for him, and of course Doug Lane and Forrest and Rob. What was his name? Let me pull that back up real quick. Rob Lind.
Yeah.
I've never heard of him.
Mhm.
I'd say this is the first time. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna have to watch this. I'm gonna have to watch and listen to it if it's on podcast.
Well, I was gonna say
I'm gonna
that's
make a mental note to watch that later. So
yeah. Well, I
shout
was
out
gonna
to
yeah.
Kenzo. Best of luck to you, man, for the new show.
I was gonna say that that's a
Hold on,
that's
wait a
a
minute. You're muted.
well,
Wait one moment.
mhm.
Whoops. The joys of live broadcasting, folks. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
No?
Yeah, go find it on Patreon.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it's a thing with Restream. When I share a video or something,
Right.
the audio tends to mess up.
The
So
only
can you
thing
hear
I
me?
was gonna say is that it's a a defining aspect of a good podcast to meet somebody or hear somebody you haven't heard of before.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, Kenzo is a great host and Forrest is very good at producing it. I know he's doing a lot of different things right now.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I appreciated the episode I was on. In
But
fact,
I
it
guess
helped.
it hasn't been uploaded yet, so
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I was gonna say it was helpful for me. Um, um, to it kind of inspired this article almost, but I mean, although I've been thinking about this kind of stuff for a while, nevertheless, it's a very good show. Um, I think it's gonna have a bright future. Um, and I'm just glad that they considered having me on, frankly. So,
yeah, I'm happy for you, man.
mhm.
Hope you'll have be on more and more,
Yeah,
'cause but, I can't again, I know I just saw it, so I'm gonna have to watching the first, like, 5 or 6 minutes of that intro, it just made me realize, this is gonna be a good show. They're
yeah,
all, comrades and friends of ours, and, we want them to do well. We want them to succeed, and we
right,
want all them to to bring this off the ground, bring it off the ground, and hopefully, uh, bring us in the bring in the unity that is already in the left, so
right,
to speak.
absolutely.
So, enough of all that, my laudatoriness that I do all the time with people, 'cause it's just who I am. Uh, so I guess could give since the version of the episode that you were on was not uploaded yet, could you, I guess, give a sort of overview of what your appearance was about? Like, what were you promoting? What were you talking about?
Um, well,
Your
we talked
interaction?
about um we talked about a lot of different things actually, which is what's great about the show is that it's never hemmed into particular topics and things like that.
Mm,
We talked about masculinity, um, whether it's toxic or it's not, and people relate it to their experiences to it. We talked a lot about Jordan Peterson,
mhm.
and kind of the role that he's trying to fill. Um, there we had a discussion about I had such a good time, I can't remember all the topics. Um,
You look like you had a good time.
yeah,
I can't wait honestly, I can't wait till the episode's uploaded, 'cause
right,
now I'm gonna
yeah, absolutely, and I'm trying to remember exactly all the things we talked about, because let's see, well, we had the introduction and stuff, or everybody's introductions. Honestly, the main things we talked about was toxic masculinity. We talked about Jordan Peterson, and we got to talking about it a little bit, but the relationship of the left to the role that Jordan Peterson tries to fill. And so that was the main stuff that we discussed. I'm gonna sit here and think about this for a second and try to remember everything that we talked
And that
about.
you talked to you
Um,
seem to you talked a lot of stuff about the show.
oh,
Again,
I remember one of the things now. One of the things we talked about was Elon Musk being
mhm.
the person of the year, or
Oh,
Times Person of the Year. Um, God,
I sorry to interrupt you, but I
no,
had a like, in my last, like, next to last s week of biology class, we were watching the Al Gore movie, An Inconvenient Truth,
yeah,
and there's a classmate who I don't generally know his politics, but he seems to have, if I had to guess, a probably libertarian streak. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of the assumption I had, because we were talking about global warming and the importance of climate change, and he was talking about, like, oh, well, Al Gore, he's talking about all this stuff with, like, global warming, and we should take care of our planet and whatnot, and he's living in, like, trillion-dollar mansions and flying in corporate jets, which, is, accurate in a lot of ways. I'm not gonna dispute that, but he was also, like, saying, like, "Oh, but, Elon Musk is promoting, like, energy efficient cars, and like, he's going into space and all the rest of it." Like, like, the one day we were taking our first test, and he was pulling out his phone, and he was showing me this clip. He's like, "Hey, John, do you wanna see this, video of William Shatner going into space?" And I I didn't wanna be rude, I wanted to be like, "Oh, not really, but okay, I'll check it out." And so I checked out, like, the first, like, maybe 30 plus minutes, and then I was just like, "Oh, okay, okay, a guy from Star Trek is going in space, and coming back down, like, what's this supposed," like, I was asking him questions like, like, is this has have something to do with the space program that they've since disbanded for the last 10 years? It's like, I don't get it. They're sending basically celebrities and corporate business people into space like it's like this holly jolly thing, and it's just like it you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
I have a lot
I know exactly what you're saying because
so yeah,
uh,
I didn't mean to go on a tangent there,
no,
but it
you're
was just, like, something that,
all I
that
was gonna
came
say is that one of the things we talked about on the show,
back to the
what right,
back to Sabbath Cypher.
right. Well,
Back
one of the things we talked about on the show in relationship to Elon Musk is the way that capitalism has basically become sort of this 30-second commercial life. And what I mean by that, and Napoleon the Legend had the had the most experience with this, but he pointed out that a lot of influencers, as well as a lot of rappers and musicians, will um they will rent a really nice jet, or they'll rent a really nice house, or they'll
Mhm,
for a certain amount of time, and they use it to pretend that they have it so that they can eventually get to the point where they can have it. That's why I call it a 30-second commercial. 30-second commercial capitalism, where
mhm,
you set up the commercial for 30 seconds. You're like, oh, look at me, I'm so successful. And you're not actually successful. As soon as that commercial's over, you're done.
mhm.
And that's what Elon Musk is. Elon
Right.
Musk he's playing at being an engineer. He's
Yeah.
playing at being a CEO who understands what things are going on. And then he sits there and he has the audacity to tell people the government shouldn't be spending money on whatever, but his business is mostly government subsidies. And what I find, what I find interesting is, and I wrote about this actually a while ago, is that Elon Musk will do whatever song and dance he thinks needs to be done
Mhm.
to get the government payouts. During
Yep.
an interview that was shown during the show that I was on, um, the video, he kept saying, "I'm not a libertarian, but I'm not a libertarian, but." It's like he's making sure that just in case the government says, "Hey, are you a libertarian? You don't
You're
believe
like,
in our authority or whatever," he'll be like, no," even though that's his shtick. But
yeah,
um, and that's just kind of that's capitalism. That's
yeah.
capitalism right now, anyway.
Capitalism, capitalism sells, and Elon Musk. I guess is that a fair, accurate way to put it?
Uh, Capitalism sells.
Yeah, I mean, well, it might be sort of off
eh,
off
I
beat,
I would put it this way: capitalism provides the conditions to reproduce itself,
right? I guess what I'm
and
trying to say is, like, because, like, when we look at capitalism, we look at all the people that have, like, big corporate money. Like,
right,
for example, like, this Kellogg strike that's been going on in the last that they finally got a labor contract after, 5 or 6 months. And, I was reading an article on Jacobin and actually talked about this on my one of my Twitch streams was, the CEO of, Kellogg's makes, like, it was like $1.4 billion a year. Now, in retrospect, that might not be a lot of money to people like you and I, but you look at the people that are going on strike and you look at what they were being denied, which is healthcare, childcare, a better wage, a better minimum wage. It's like we're trying to fight for a $15 minimum wage right now. I mean, what the hell, you know? It's like those people they have families. They're striking for their families. They need to feed their families. They need to provide for their loved ones, their elders, what have you. And that CEO who's making like over $1 billion a year and is denying the Kellogg's workers uh very much what they're needing. Again, healthcare, childcare, minimum wage, better working conditions. He's getting that. Very much so. More or less. I mean, as a CEO. Everything that he's denying the striking workers and for God forbid, I wish I'd written down the CEO's name because it was in the Jacobin article. I don't wanna pull it up. Uh, uh, he's getting all of that and more, while those striking workers are having to be on the picket line, all for a good reason.
mhm,
All for a good reason.
right.
And it's just again, it's again, I don't mean to go on a tangent. It's just one of these things that I've learned about and read up and studied, and you look really bored. Just like
I'm not. I'm letting you finish. It is your show. If you want to go on tangents, you can. I
I
will.
know, it's just a thing I have.
Well,
I don't wanna say too much and get in trouble.
the only thing I was going to add is this: is that um,
And you're
so
probably wondering, how does this relate into capitalism? It's just like the CEOs are they're big money. I mean,
well, yeah, well,
hardly it's capitalism.
CEOs have welfare for themselves,
Yeah.
is what it is. Welfare for me, but not for thee. Is what CEOs have. And the reason that works that way is because capitalism as a system only reproduces for those or is only reproduced by those who benefit. And the
Okay.
best way to make sure that people benefit, which is CEOs,
Mhm.
is for CEOs to find ways to make sure that they basically have a way to get a payout no matter what.
Right.
And they, and the only way to do that, because resources are always scarce, is to take it from the workers. And the workers can try to survive as best, that's what the CEOs, they don't care. They don't care if you don't survive, if you don't make it. They only care when there's a quote unquote shortage, which I would which I would call a refusal rather than a shortage. People are refusing the conditions in which they've been handed. Not everybody, of course. There are some people taking advantage of this and they're just lazy. But
Yeah.
for the most part, especially people who work in unions and people who understand, people who were able to stop working during the pandemic for a little bit and then came back, I think people are starting to notice, and even people who worked through the pandemic, actually, probably especially them,
Yeah.
they are seeing that the conditions they're being handed are shit.
Yeah.
And that they don't want them. And that, this is, Karl Polanyi would call this, Karl Polanyi is an Austrian economist who developed a theory of socialism. It's non-Marxian, but he argued that oftentimes the egregious nature of economic systems and economic rules creates a sort of what he calls a social protectionism, where people band together, or at least sort of band together in little groups and try to protect themselves from the harshness of the economic system, which is what we're seeing. So I hate seeing it as a shortage. It's not a shortage. It's a refusal. And as far as I'm concerned, the elites, the people, CEOs, you've had all this time not only to make sure that wages are fine, but to make sure that work conditions are better. You have the technology. You're always threatening to automate shit.
Yeah. Definitely.
Do something. It's it's kind of like what Vidal said to Buckley during the 1968 debates, where he said, if you don't give the people what they want, they're going to come and take it from you. And I think that this is the beginning of that. The people are tired of not being given things that they deserve so that they can live. And they're going to start with a refusal, but maybe they'll come and take it from people.
Yeah. Very, very well put. I mean, again, I have been really keeping tabs on a lot of these strikes, these labor worker strikes that have been going on. Of course, I followed up on the Starbucks strike, or not the strike. I'm sorry, the union.
Yeah,
The
unionization.
part of Starbucks in was it Brooklyn, or it was Boston? I think it was
Buffalo.
Buffalo. There we go. I got my
No, you're
six.
good. It's all right. And then they've got another one going on in Massachusetts right now.
Heck
So,
yeah. So
I-
yeah, I've been as much as I've been trying to keep tabs on a lot of the labor workers, the unions in the socialist world. Trying to be trying to be informed in a good way.
Right.
Very, very good way. So we got way off there. Again, I apologize for my
Oh, it's
tangent.
all good. That's all good.
So the show is Sabbath Cipher. Uh, when does this air? Did they
It's on Saturdays.
Saturday?
I want to say it's every weekend. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's every weekend on Saturdays. And it's
Oh,
1 to 3 Central Time.
okay, cool.
So,
Yeah, 'cause Kenzo, I was gonna say Kenzo and I live in the same time zone, so
right. Yeah.
um, all right. So I guess people could go check it out if anyone who watches. And it's on YouTube. So is
Yeah, it's
this
on YouTube. Well, and the best way to watch it, or the best place to see it, is on Twitch. And on Twitch, it's called it's class.time.
Yeah.
And that's where you go on Twitch to go watch it. And
Okay.
I would encourage everybody to go watch it. It's a very well structured show. And I was
Okay.
glad to be on it, and I hope I can be on it again.
I I hope you are. I seriously mean that. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly seriously mean that. And from again watching the first few minutes of that show, that seems like it's really good. I
Yeah.
mean, he's got some really good people. I mean, Forrest, Doug Lane and the guy Rob Lind, I think is his name.
Yeah, Rob Lund.
It's a good first show.
Right, yeah.
I can't wait to see what who was on with you. Was it you and
It was me, it was Forrest, and it was a musician named Napoleon the Legend. He's a very great guy, by the way. He follows me on I'm sorry, I follow him on Twitter and on Instagram, and great guy. A very interesting individual.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
You just recently filmed this and it's getting
Right.
ready to release. That again, go check it out. Seems good. So we're not quite done yet. No, we got like another hour. So now we're gonna move on to something that I've been wanting to ask you. Your new notes in the margin about
Right.
Susan Sarandon, because if anyone knows about my feelings on Miss Sarandon, is that I will be honest, I defended her for how long has it been? 4 or 5 years since. And you know what? My hand's getting tired. So do you mind if you look for this and screen share?
Oh, okay. I'll try. I don't know how this works, but here we go.
We tried it that one Sunday, and it was a great experiment.
Let's see. Just let me figure out how this all works first.
If you need me to do it, I have no problem.
Let me see if I can do it.
Okay.
What are we screen sharing?
There's, if you want to know, there's the screen share. The share screen is at the bottom. There we go.
All right.
Okay.
There we go. Okay.
This is notes in the margins.
Yes. So,
okay, so
yeah.
Do you want to describe this, or
I can absolutely.
Sure.
I write every other week a series. It's a series of articles called Notes in the Margins, where I give my observations on certain issues that I find are interesting, but maybe not something that's worth quite a deep dive. It's something where I kind of give my observations, so to speak. This one, which is the 14th installment, 14 of these so far. The first one was, or I'm sorry, the two issues that are looked at here are the reaction by the liberal, how do I put this? The liberal faction, let's say, of Twitter, their random spikes of anger towards Susan Sarandon. God. And then I wanted to focus on Dr. Oz deciding to run for office. But let's start with Susan Sarandon. First off, basically what's going on right now is those who are liberal, and maybe even liberal left, are looking at Biden. They're seeing that this whole thing is his approach to things is a failure. Not only did he get basically outmaneuvered by Joe Manchin and is it Cinema? Is that how you say it?
Cinema. Yeah.
He got outplayed by them on his main
Build Back Better.
Yeah, Build Back Better. And he the whole liberal approach of trying to be nice to the conservatives and how we can't be mean to them, we need to include them, has basically got him shot in the foot. And he everything's getting watered down, and it's a honestly, it's political pussyfooting is what that is. Absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
And what's happening though, and this is where the article will begin, or kind of where the article comes from, is the fact that these people, frustrated as they are, have decided at the time of writing to take it out on Susan Sarandon, and anybody who voted for Bernie Sanders over any of the other politicians. What's fun to listen to them sort of talk about what's kind of fun is to listen to them talk about it because on one hand they pretend that they've got all this confidence in Joe Biden and he's doing his best and blah 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 whatever, but then they start bringing up, oh well, if Pete Buttigieg had won, God forbid, Mayo
Yeah.
Pete,
Yeah.
or if one of Kamala Harris had won on her own or whatever. It's
Right.
they have confidence, but they don't have confidence, and then they blame people on the left who took part in the elections and voted their conscience, voted for Bernie Sanders, and they go after Susan Sarandon because she's a big target. She's a celebrity.
Yeah.
I'm not used to defending celebrities. I find most of them to be ridiculous. They
do.
are, they are Pinocchio without his strings, and they
Or
want to let us all
Dumbo.
know.
Yeah.
And so they went after her though, and I have a particular like for Susan Sarandon because she was a good old friend of Gore Vidal, and she's one of the her activism is not super. I don't want to overstate. I don't want to pretend like she's at every picket line and everything like
Right.
that.
She's not like a super uber activist. Like she's put herself out there in the
Yes.
last few years.
Right.
You also, like, I should mention, she's on the left. She is a left-leaning,
Yes.
like, progressive.
Right.
She took a lot of hit in 2000 for supporting Ralph Nader over Al Gore.
Yes.
And a lot of left-leaning liberals, or I would call them neoliberals at this point, in 2016, when she was saying, she wouldn't support Hillary Clinton if she were the nominee, because again, she was a staunch Bernie Sanders person, and a lot of liberals were, like, using that against her as a way of saying, "She's not really on the left, folks." And when I say that, and when I say
Yeah. Yeah. I know
they,
what you mean.
they're
Yeah.
moderate neoliberals. Now, fast forward to now, to 2016, or not to, 2016, to 2021,
21.
she has, and this is my sort of criticism of her. I think I hope to say that it's fair. She has consistently aligned herself with this, like, god awful, it's not even a party, like this People's Party, this left-leaning, like, force the vote, the Jimmy Dore types, the Brianna Joy Gray, those folks. And I'm not gonna say that she has any right to support it. She wants to support them, more power to her, like, whatever. I just hope that she at best looks into this a little more in the near future, like, if forced to vote from the way it's becoming, it doesn't go the way it should in her mind. I hope that if it flops, which it's more or less looking like it's going to, she looks into this and is like, you know, it wasn't really the right idea, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes. I would cut her a little slack because she is like Vidal, where they
Yeah.
are left populists and populist proper. I still have a problem with populism, even if it's proper. But
Mhm.
the- Gore Vidal tried to start a party or was a part of a party that got
Yeah,
started.
he
Um,
started a leftist party in '82.
Well, yeah, well, I don't know if it was a leftist party. I would still call it a populist party, but nevertheless, I know what you're saying. And so I think her going for the People's Party is probably within that strand where it's she thinks that it's a better alternative. And Jimmy Dore, for all I disagree with him,
Same here.
yeah, sometimes he's right. And I've always tried to hold myself to the standard that I never reject somebody just because of who they are. For example, Caitlin Johnstone, she sometimes she has a nose for understanding American imperialist foreign policy. Now she's not always on it, but
Mm.
all that said, nevertheless, I understand your concern with Susan Sarandon, and I'll be, she. I appreciate her stances because she's not afraid to criticize Joe Biden at a
Right.
time when everybody, and by everybody I mean people in the upper echelon of
Right.
idiocy, um, they don't they don't seem to want to criticize Biden, and every criticism of Biden is like covering their face with their hands and like, oh, don't hit me, but at least she's willing to make those criticisms,
Right.
which is what I appreciate, and which is why I wrote the article, because I find that their anger is misplaced, and
Yeah.
it's also repressed anger. And it's like, if you want to be angry, because I understand, being angry, feeling frustrated because the system's not working. You want to be angry at Biden, be
Right.
angry at those in power. And
Right.
and I wouldn't even say be angry. I think anger doesn't necessarily help anybody. But if you want to turn a critical eye towards something or someone,
Hmm.
that's what you have to do.
Right.
You have to turn against, those who have power, and you have to engage with it. You have to, you have to understand that Joe Biden, when he says he can't do certain things, it's not that he can't, it's that he won't.
Right.
But um but that's what the first part of the article is about, just kind of a small defense. She doesn't really need that much of a defense. She's a
Right.
celebrity. She's doesn't need a lowly polemicist like me
Mm.
making that
Tell her.
defense. But I thought, I thought I would point out what's going on. um and the second part of it was just me lambasting Dr. Oz. um God awful, god
Yeah.
awful. um
I mean, looking at all, I mean, again, I haven't really paid. I'm trying not to pay too much attention to it because, again, I'm not a daytime TV show watcher. I could give a damn about Dr. Oz or Dr. Phil or uh, the doctors. Any of those like
Doctor.
doctor shows where they
Yeah.
claim to have a doctorate in something and you realize it's just for like it's just for show, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
so
it's that capitalist, 30-second commercial thing.
yeah,
They
yeah,
they're
or Dr.
pretending.
Drew, yeah. Um, so yeah, he's running for. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's Senate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's running for the Senate in Pennsylvania.
So yeah, he's running as a Republican,
Mhm. And
and
and basically what he's gonna do is he's gonna walk out there with his fake stethoscope and his fake
mm,
lab coat and say that, oh, this vaccine mandate is awful. And
right.
why are we doing that? Basically he's giving a false sense of authority to the
Mhm,
lunatics that are against the vaccine.
mhm, yeah, and to think that he would, I mean, he's clearly anti-vaccination. I would assume.
Well, yeah, he's clearly an idiot. Absolutely.
You're an idiot and anti-vaccine. I'm not afraid to say it. And who knows? He may behind the scenes, like Joe Rogan, uh, be getting the vaccine and the booster.
Right.
Uh,
Well,
just
right. And the point of me bringing up Oz though was I wanted to make a point to people because for some reason the American political electorate
mhm,
doesn't grasp certain things, and one of those is that I read an article from Reason magazine. The barrel,
yeah,
bottom of the barrel. It's the magazine you use when you need to start a fire. You need some kindling, and
yeah. I've heard a reason. I'm not
yeah.
saying that I read it, but
But I like to read the other perspective every now and then. I think
I
it's
understand.
helpful. It's helpful. And I read an article where Reason actually went after Dr. Oz, and they said, well, he should not be running for office. Absolutely not.
Right.
And they said it's because he's basically a fake doctor, is what we just said. And I
Mhm.
pointed out that the interesting thing about American politics, and probably politics in general,
Oh, yeah.
is that it doesn't being a charlatan doesn't make you unfit for office. It actually makes you well fit for office. As I put it at the end, it makes it makes the ass of the Muppet fit the hand just perfectly. And so that's one of the reasons I wrote that is I just, people need to understand that, because one of the things they used against or tried to use against Trump, they're like, oh, he's a reality TV show host.
Right.
It's like, listen, we've had actor presidents
Actor
since
governors.
since Reagan.
Right.
Actor politicians.
Yeah.
Reagan made it, cool. And then you have people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and now you've got Dr. Oz.
Al
People were,
Franken.
Al Franken. People were trying to get Oprah Winfrey to
Mhm.
go on and run for president. It's like
Right.
this is not, or people were trying to
And
push
then
Dwayne Johnson.
Johnson.
Yeah.
And then like Matthew McConaughey running for gov or for
Yeah, I'm
playing.
glad he didn't.
I mean,
God.
again, it's yeah, I mean, I agree too. I'm glad as well, but it's like, this whole notion of like Hollywood and politics. I'm
Yes.
not saying that it shouldn't mix. It's like we take it so literally. It's like,
Hmm.
um,
Well,
you look at the
yeah,
West. I
yeah,
know we back when we did that Sunday episode about the West Wing, it's like, you look at that show and you look at how politics in Hollywood mirrors real life. It's like, people look at that and they say, "This is what it should be." And it's like a far cry from that. Like, again, not to go on a Sorkin rant, but it's like, again, this
hmm
Aaron Sorkin, like, worldview of, "Hey, let's have someone that is, like, playing a" again, like you said, playing actor, actor politician. Let's have Martin Sheen be the president for, 4 years. Or let's have him be if he wanted to be for 8 years. It's like this, fiction versus reality. It's like, "Hey, let's get it out of our heads, people," you know?
right, yeah, absolutely, and that's it basically we're gonna have a political system built upon the empty husks of people
Mhm.
who just do whatever somebody says. I mean,
Yeah.
what do we know about actors? We know actors will
They get paid.
they take direction very well, and they
Right.
do as they are told, and they are very good at
At
pretending.
reading a teleprompter, and that's what
Yes.
Reagan was, as
Yeah,
president. I mean,
right, and so, basically, I think that the exodus of low grade, you know, uh, B grade, actors to
mm,
politics is a sign of the fact that, you know, the system needs people who are going to willingly do whatever they are told and make it seem convincing.
yeah.
Um, it makes me think of that movie Bob Roberts, which actually Gore Vidal starred in,
Sorry.
and Bob Roberts is a folk singer politician, and he wins office, and the way the people reacted to him in the movie almost is very close to how people reacted with Trump, where
Mhm.
there's this adulation and this
Yeah.
sort of you know and they excuse me. There's a point in the movie where Bob Roberts got shot, and they're sitting there and they're talking about, oh, they hope that they find the guy so that they can kill him and stuff, and it's just pure primal, just you know idiocy, really. And so um Yeah, but the more actors we get, the easier it's going to be for them to provide us,
Spout off, yeah,
yeah, it's
spout
it's,
off
it's going to
politics,
be, yeah, they're going to be able to play at power rather than have it.
yeah, rather than be it.
But yeah, absolutely. So
That's the whole point of I mean, again, Hollywood and politics, we're looking at fiction rather than reality. That's
right,
probably a good article one of us should write. I need to start writing again. One of the other
right.
things I do, now that I have more time on my hands.
Hmm.
So, so again, it's, Ferocia Enemy, notes in the margin. It's the 14th installment, so it's been up for a few weeks now. Uh, Go check it out if you it's a really good article. Probably it's one of my favorites, and I've enjoyed the notes in the margin, so, keep doing them. Please
Oh
keep
yeah.
doing it.
Oh, I will.
Doing 'em.
As long as I'm breathing, I'm gonna have an opinion on something.
Yeah.
So
So, I'm actually gonna switch our last 2, topics around, because I actually think you should just do the book the Ben Burgess book right now. But I will say that if you're just if you tune in, later, this is our last show of 2021 before, the holiday break. But with that, before we talk about that, you have Ben Burgess' book, Christopher Hitchens, What He Got Right and What He Got what is it?
all right.
What He Got Right
So
and What He Got Wrong, I think is what it's called. It
so
might
to
be
clarify a little bit here, um, I got this book recently, and I will be writing a review, but I haven't written one yet,
oh,
and I haven't started reading it because I still got to write my other articles.
you
Um,
haven't read it yet? Oh,
Not yet. Sorry, I thought I had
no, it's
made that
fine.
clear. But I again,
Yeah,
I know I did this at the beginning, but here at the end, I want to, um compliment Andy on his artwork here.
yeah, our good friend.
And yeah, and I I guess I haven't read it yet,
That's
but I will say that I do enjoy Christopher Hitchens. He's one of the, I have his a collection of his essays.
right.
I think it's Love, Poverty, and War. I think is what
I
it's
think
called.
so.
And
Can I just
I yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
interrupt you? I actually kinda wanna go on a Hitchens tangent, a little bit of Hitchens tangent myself, 'cause, um, I kinda delved into one of his essay books, uh, during my last semester, and again, I kinda know the backstory of Hitchens. Uh, he started off as a liberal, I guess you could say like a left-leaning, uh, political, like, his
Well,
politics were left.
he wrote for a Trotskyist
Yeah,
newspaper.
yeah. And then his, politics got more shifted to the right, as because of the Iraq War and 9/11, and that influenced his thinking. And, of course, 10 years ago, he passed away of brain cancer, and I was watching an
It
interview.
was it was throat cancer.
Throat cancer? I thought it was
Yeah.
brain cancer.
No,
Oh,
because he noted in his interview with
damn it. I
God,
thought it was brain
Paxton something. I forget the man's name. He's a well-known British interviewer that he had a interview with. But I remember it because he noted how some people were saying that Hitchens got his throat cancer by divine retribution. So
mhm.
um
Shit, my
yeah.
credibility just went down the drain.
No, it's all right. You just made a mistake. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, he got cancer. He got throat cancer 10 years ago. He passed away, and I was watching an interview with our friend, this was earlier this year, Joe Payne of Political Pain had interviewed Ben, about the book when he was still writing it, and he had sort of guesstimated had Hitchens lived today, he would probably further evolve into his political thinking with, he probably would go down the Bernie Sanders route. We can only guesstimate. It's not really yes or no, it's probably a maybe, and he would sort of embrace, in a way, I would say, the democratic socialist, agenda. in a way. Again, we we don't we wouldn't know for sure. It's just all, I hate to say pure speculation, but what else can you call it? Which is actually because I have the book. I haven't ordered it yet, but I need to order it now. I'm gonna definitely read the book, but as I finish my little tangent, I will give you the rest of the
Well,
time to talk
well,
about.
I may have to get off here in quicker
Oh,
than usual, and it's not on you. It's an unplanned call that I just had.
oh,
That like I didn't answer the call, obviously, but somebody, my brother called me. Anyway, point is, where would Christopher Hitchens be today? Well, for one thing, I don't think he would have he would have fit in the let us call it the politically correct culture that we have.
right.
Towards the end there, he had an interview with an Australian woman. Can't remember her name. I want to say it's something Bynes. And she talked to him and they had a kind of a confrontation because he said that um women should have the right to work if they're pregnant, but he didn't that his wife would never work while she's pregnant. Like he would go out of his way to make sure. And he had also kept up, or he also believed kind of it's kind of a stereotype that men don't know what to do with children, but women tend to naturally. And she came after him for that, and she ended it by calling him the sexist but charming Christopher Hitchens. Is how she ended that conversation.
Mhm.
Which he protested to. Um, so he would probably be, and this is something nobody likes to hear, but he probably would have been closer to where Jimmy Dore is. Not exactly Jimmy Dore. I don't see him as an idiot.
Right.
So I appreciate Christopher Hitchens' intellect even when he's wrong. But he would have been close to kind of that area where, kind of pushing against the administration, I think. Now, I don't know. This would actually probably be a very good question for Ben Burgess. Um, more so than me.
Right.
But that's my speculation. Is it would have been the Susan Sarandon kind of area. The irony is that if he and Vidal both survived, which there's no way Vidal would have made it that long. But
Yeah.
had they would have probably had to, agree on certain political things.
And disagree on.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they had their little feud there at the end.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Gore Vidal was against the Iraq War, and
And
Christopher Hitchens was for it,
yeah.
and Vidal basically disowned him, more or less, and not disowned literally. There was no exchange of
Falling out.
property, but kind of like a
Falling
heritage thing.
So were they? I was just say
Sorry, go
real
ahead.
quick. Were they friends at all? I mean, they knew
Yes,
each other obviously, but were
yes.
they like deep
For
friends and they like?
for a long while, they were friends. When Hitchens was one of the great critics of the Reagan administration,
Mhm.
and they became friends because they were both writing for the Nation.
Mhm.
And Hitchens greatly admired Vidal in Vidal's work,
Mhm.
and um, Vidal is, as everybody knows, quite the prickly writer. He was not quite as smooth as Christopher Hitchens,
Right.
but
Well,
they sorry.
I was gonna say I read Palimpsest, and it's
Uh-huh.
very interesting
Well,
book.
yeah, I've also read Empire Self,
Yeah,
which
Dave
was
Green.
interesting. I have some criticism about it, but um, nevertheless, um, uh, they had a falling out over the Iraq War, and Vidal just he's not one to have friends who don't agree with him. It's
Right.
just it wasn't who he was, And so he rejected Christopher Hitchens, who had seen himself as his uh um his dauphin,
Ideal.
yeah, his dauphin or his heir. And Gore Vidal used to say that, and then he would joke and he'd say, or he would say Delfino, which is Italian for dolphin. And um, but yeah, they had a falling out, which reached its breaking point when he wrote his article for Vanity Fair called uh Vidal Loco. Like
This was Hitchens who wrote the.
yeah, yeah. And what's
Wow.
interesting, what I've always found interesting about that essay is that Christopher Hitchens throws a number of accusations and polemical barbs at Gore Vidal. And
Right.
what ends up happening, or what's fun is reading that, because you could have just taken those and pointed it right back at him.
Right.
Because honestly, he should have just titled it, "I'm talking about myself," and that's what it was, or that's how I see it. Is he was projecting onto Vidal.
Right.
Although Vidal has his own issues, Vidal definitely has his own problems.
Mhm.
And I don't find Hitchens airing out his dirty laundry in print to be good. I think it's below the belt. And in fact, it's something he believed up until then was below the belt. And so, but yeah, they were friends. And then they had they didn't agree on the Iraq war, the falling out. And, but I still like Christopher Hitchens. I don't want to make all of Gore Vidal's enemies my enemies.
Right.
And I like his style and I like his prose. I appreciate how conversational his style is.
Mhm. If you ever watch the movie The U.S. versus John Lennon, Gore Vidal was interviewed for that, and
Yes.
he said Lenin represented life, and Mr. Nixon and Mr. Bush represented death, and Bush as in George W. Bush.
All right.
So
Well,
you
I
know,
mean,
that was my first
yeah.
introduction to Gore Vidal was that movie,
Yeah.
and then I found his work and became a little bit of a keen fan. I'm not a big fan, but I do appreciate. I can respect, and I can
Right.
appreciate. And
Well,
there's
yeah.
of course that famous episode of Family Guy where Brian and Stewie are hosting a radio show, and he comes in and he's
The
like,
dingo and the baby.
"Yeah, I'm looking for the lunch hour.
Yeah.
I'm looking for Brian Griffin," and Brian's like, "Gorman,
Yeah.
Paul? Yeah. Why don't you stay for a while?
Yeah,
We
they
can."
shot a hot dog in his mouth.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It is
There's
funny.
actually I'd had read it like a historical picture book that Gore Vidal did himself, where that cartoon photograph is actually in the book. It's hilarious.
Excuse me.
Isn't
Yeah, he did a lot of minor acting. His most major role in the best movie is a tie between Gattaca
Mhm.
and Bob Roberts. Those are two very good movies that he's in. But yeah, I would side more with Vidal than Hitchens, but I like. There's an article I read about for him from I think it's around, yeah, it was around the time of the Iraq war. It's a little after we got started.
Right.
But he wrote an article about being able to smoke on the subway. And it's a topic that you would think is pretty dull, and he just he takes it, and it's a brilliant article, and I can't remember what it's called right now. But it's in his book, Love, Poverty, and War, I think. Or no, I know it's in that. And I can't remember what it's called. But he's a great writer, and I think if you don't want to take him as a complicated figure, which I think we should, I think we should accept him as a leftist who's complicated, who's got some certain views, and maybe even take him as a lesson on an overzealous adherence to a notion of revolution to the point where you start supporting imperialism.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But we should accept him as a complicated figure, and we need it because a lot of people on the left, as far as I'm concerned, are they're very narrow minded. They very much believe the very few things they think. Sorry, the very few things they think they know.
Yeah. Well, we're all a little narrow-minded every now and then. I can certainly say I am. I'm open-minded, but I do have a narrow mind that I need to that I need
Well,
to.
yeah. Well, it's like I said before. There's that oscillation between open-mindedness and being narrow-minded. So
I'm a little bit of a both.
that's
can't.
good.
Who knows? Um. So, yeah. So Ben Burgess' book, Christopher Hitchens. I think it says what he got right and what he got wrong. I think is that what it is? What he got right. I'm trying to see
What he got right, how he went wrong, and why he still
why he
matters.
still matters. There we go. Yeah, I knew the first part of the title, and I was like, there's a third part of the title,
Right.
and you can get it on Red Emma's if you don't want to have to go to Amazon. I
Right.
understand someday some of us have to do it by default. We always have to go to Jeff Bezos' corporate website machine to buy books like that. I will be honest, I've had to because if Red Emma's had a national gift card where I can buy gift cards at a convenience store or wherever I would like to put money on, I could buy from Red Emma's and not Amazon. But what can you do, really? So, but yeah, so it comes out, I think January 22nd is the physical release, but you can pre-order it.
Right.
And
Which
then,
is what I have done.
yeah. So, I'm still waiting. I'm still needing to order mine. So, I have to do that during the holiday break. So, with that, go buy the book. And as we said, it is our last show of 2021. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Any feelings? Uh I can't even believe it's been 6 months. I started in August, so I'm counting for a minute. September, October, November,
Yeah.
December. It's 4 months. So I've been doing this for 4 months. I know it's not long. I wish I could go for six. Uh, I started real nervous, like real hella nervous, and I kind of want to go back to my first episode before Charlie came on. Uh, and I haven't done this where like a lot of leftist podcasters and streamers, commentators, they look back on their first episode. I mean, if I've only been doing this 4 months, so if I had done it 4 years, it would been weird to watch. But like in my first, you know what? We'll just watch it. You know what? Do you mind watching it? Are you cool with it?
I need to
Oh, you need to go.
I need to return my phone call. But
Very
how about this? I will head off and you can show it to your viewers. And
okay.
so long to everybody.
Yeah.
And I will see you next time next year.
Oh, before you leave,
Yeah.
quick plug where they can find you.
Yes. I have a Substack called Ferocia Anime, and I will spell that for you. FEROCIA space ANIMI. I have a Twitter for that. Same thing. The handle with an underspace.
Mhm.
Also a Facebook page for it. And you can also find, myself, RC Roberts,
Mhm.
also on Facebook, also on Twitter. And yeah, bah humbug.
And you're also, I wouldn't say contributor, but you do go on Movie Night Extravaganza.
I am a wandering podcast guest. I
There you
go
go.
on where they need me. I've been on movie night extravaganza, Sabbath Cipher. I've been on here, the John Ross show,
Mhm.
and I've been on These Are Bad Movies.
You've been everywhere.
Maybe
You
I need to be asked on to things like give them an argument or diet soap. Those would be great, but we'll see. All right.
Yeah. All right.
And so long.
Have a happy
Farewell.
holiday.
You too.
All right. That was again Charlie R.C. Roberts, co-host extraordinaire. I mean, I that's what I'd call him. He's a great co-host. So, with that, as I said, this is our last show of 2021, and I don't have YouTube up, so I need to put YouTube. I need to tab and do another YouTube. Uh, this is our final show of 2021 before the new year starts back up, and while we celebrate Christmas and all this, like Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, if you do, I mean, not trying to. Well, we have our different holidays that we celebrate, so I'm trying to be respectful. Uh, as this is our last show of the year, we started 4 months ago. So we're gonna screen share. We're gonna maybe watch a video of our episode 1, which was 3 months actually, and hopefully when was it? It was August 28th, 2021 was show, and I have to say, I was very nervous when I did this. I hope I've come a long way since then. So, without further ado, look back on episode 1 of TRS. And just FYI, we're not going to watch the whole 53 minutes. We're just going to watch the first maybe 2 minutes.
YouTube stream, usually every Saturday afternoon, around say maybe 5 or 5:30, depending on how busy I am. But seeing as I'm going back on the air, or when I say that, I mean like going back to streaming next Monday night, or this coming Monday night rather. I figured I'd give this a try and see how it goes.
I'm really nervous.
So here I am.
I have to say,
And give me a minute.
I'm very nervous looking, and
People.
that is not a very good setup. By the way, that setup, like versus what I look like now, I think that's it. That's it. I'm only gonna do the first 2 minutes, and then we're gonna. I mean, we need to go. That wasn't really a look back on the first episode. That was just like the first 2 minutes. But hey, you know, I don't like looking at myself on. I mean, I'll be honest. There are times when I just do not like looking at myself on video, on YouTube video. But yeah, how about we just open it one more. Yeah, you look at the glasses. Again, the setup is kind of weird. I have a single light on in the background. Well, actually, 2 lights on in the background. Just this was me starting out 3 months ago, 3.5, maybe 4 months ago. I feel like I've come a long way since then. I mean, again, it's not been very long, but it's still. I mean, I've made a lot of connections within the left media space, what I would say indie left media space. Still using a laptop, still using Restream. I've sort of upgraded to some new equipment, even though the quality of the audio can be a little sketchy still from time to time, but hopefully that'll improve with some time. So it's 8:50. So how about I end the show early, 10 minutes early than usual? And again, this is the final TJRS of 2021, and I hope you all enjoyed. Thanks to our one viewer who watched us on, let's see, on Twitch. So, hey, one viewer is better than none at all. So I'm appreciative all the same. That's the honest truth. Hopefully, as I go along in this and get more experience and get more confident, because I still feel a little nervous from time to time, much more less than in that clip there. So I apologize. Also, not really apologize, but uh, as I say, this is the first show that I've had since I've been on winter break, but unfortunately, it'll be the last as we go into a joyous holiday season, which I hope most of you will have. So, with that, I will do the plugging. You can catch this show starting next year, uh, TJRS, the John Ross Show, on our new slot, our new format, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. On our main platforms, Twitch and YouTube. Also, I stream on my Facebook and Twitch, and you can catch me there too. And also, if you watch the show there, you can always leave comments. Maybe throw in the hashtag TGRS. Uh, why didn't I think of that before? Would have been much easier. Of course, read me on Substack, which I have to start doing more. That is tjrs.substack.com. Maybe I'm actually going to close out the source there. tjrs.substack.com. That is where all my blogs are and where I write. I mean, I need to start doing it more. I need to balance this and then writing because I get my inspiration to write. That's what creative writing is for, folks. You can follow me on social media. Twitter is at John Ross 1992. Facebook John Ross. Twitch is Jonathan Ross. That's where one of the main shows are, as well as YouTube. Not gonna worry about Patreon because, to be quite honest, I haven't checked it in a while. So, although I need to, I might still use it. But if, yeah, I might still use it. I don't know yet. You, of course, like and subscribe, like I said in the beginning of the show. Uh, hit the like button on YouTube. If you have and subscribe button as well on YouTube. And Twitch, there should be a subscribe on Twitch. So hit the subscribe on Twitch if you're watching, the one viewer. Hopefully in the next year as I get more interesting, try to make it more interesting, we can have more people on to hit the subscribe button more on YouTube and Twitch. So with that, have a joyous, happy holiday and New Year's. Left is best. Rest in power to Michael Brooks. Rest in power to Ed Asner. And I hope to see you in 2022. Peace.